fear shapes everything, everything becomes weapon.
When the chaos starts, they'll all float.
The Clown Protocol, in theaters now.
What if everything happening in America right now is not random? What if the chaos, the attacks, the military defiance rhetoric is all part of a playbook? Tonight, senior officials and intelligence veterans are saying out loud what was once dismissed as conspiracy theory. A color revolution is underway on American soil. The same tactics the CIA used to topple governments overseas are now being deployed against President Trump, and the names behind it are finally being exposed. Now, first, let me explain what a color revolution actually is. It's a regime change operation. The CIA and State Department have used this playbook for decades to overthrow governments in Ukraine, Georgia, Libya, Syria, and beyond. The formula is quite simple. Fund activist networks, control the media narrative, divide the military from its commander, stage provocative incidents, flood the streets with chaos, and install your own people when the dust settles. Senator Eric Schmitt just declared this is exactly what is happening here. He said elected Democrats are using the language of a color revolution, urging sedition, calling on military men to defy the commander-in-chief, threatening prosecution if they ever take power again. You see, that's not politics. That is the textbook pre-phase of regime change. Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, former director of intelligence agency, Defense Intelligence, went further. He went on Steve Bannon's War Room, November 29th. He named the operational commander of the color revolution in America as John Brennan, Obama's CIA director, the architect of the Russia hoax, the man behind the 2020 intel letter that discredited Hunter Biden's laptop. Now, this just in, we have breaking financial news you will not hear from the mainstream press. While the deep state runs its color revolution playbook, the real power players are quietly stacking hard assets. Silver just exploded to new heights, and one company is at the center of it all. AmeriCorps Resources. They trade under AMCOF in the United States and AMCO in Canada. They acquired Nevada's Trinity Silver project from the mining giant Newmont, and then Newmont took a stake in the deal. 28 million ounces of historical silver data. The stock price is under 25 cents. When shadowy forces try to collapse the system, tangible assets are your defense, and the elites, they know this. And now you do too. You'll get the full details at the link in the description. We thank them for supporting this program. Okay, so we already know about the seditious six, the members of Congress with deep intelligence, NGO, foreign donor ties, who are pushing narratives designed to bait the military into resisting Trump's lawful authority. Senator Mark Kelly co-founded a surveillance balloon company called Worldview that received investment from Tencent, a Chinese Communist Party-linked corporation, in 2013 to 2016. He later placed his stake in a blind trust after winning his Senate seat. Now, he's one of the loudest voices telling troops that Trump's orders are illegal. Representative Alyssa Slotkin is a former CIA analyst embedded in the Obama-era intel networks, and here's the chilling part. Slotkin spoke at the Brookings Institution in late October and warned of being about 2 weeks away from a bloody incident involving the National Guard. Weeks later, 2 guardsmen were shot in D.C., and she framed it as troops shooting civilians, but critics say her words were psychological priming, a hallmark of destabilization operations. And now we have this, Steve Bannon speaking with General Michael Flynn. Is John Brennan involved in the color revolution, Operation Gladio, taking place in the United States?
Make sure that they get it. I do think that Obama is a
United States.
Yeah, I think that right now, and we have to really take a hard look at what happened all the way back to 2016 under Obama. And I think that Obama is still in the mix here. I think the operational commander on the battlefield here in the United States of America is John Brennan. I believe that. I mean, that's my gut. I think that there's enough indicators out there for the types of activities that you look at what John Brennan has said, what he's been talking about. I do think that Obama is a part of the command structure. When we talk about, I'm putting it into military terminology, but I believe that that's part of the command structure. There is an international component to this. I call it the axis of resistance. The axis of resistance essentially consists of communists, both that are emanating from the CCP's control, but also communists inside of our country. I mean, if people don't believe that there's communists in Congress, go look at the way that they voted to get rid of socialism. I mean, what it was, 92 didn't vote against socialism as part of the functioning parts of our government. I mean, so you got communism, you've got Islamism, you've got these narco cartels, these terrorist groups that are also part of this. It's not just Hamas and Hezbollah. It's FARC and it's the Cartel del Sol. I mean, you have a combination of organizations, and there are people that are at the, sort of at the pincer of it, meaning the pointy end of the spear that are organizing and controlling some of this. I mean, all you have to do is read their damn doctrine, which I have. And I want people to understand when we talk about color revolutions, that's what's going on over in Ukraine, that total loser war that I keep talking about. We have to get the hell out of there. We've got it. Trump has got to tell his team, if he wants to stick with this team, it's like you said in the preempt with Jack and his brother. Trump signs all these executive orders. Who's checking to make sure these things are actually being put into effect all the way down to the lowest levels, right? And the one phrase that I used to use as a commander in the military is because, all the lawyers would come in, and I say that lawyers advise, leaders decide. And so President Donald J. Trump, you need to make a decision now. Listen to your lawyers, but make a decision. Get your team, whether it's CIA, DNI, Sec War, Sec State, Sec Commerce, I don't care. Get them all in and tell them, and especially the Secretary of Homeland Security. I mean, I think that Trump felt like all this going on and it was happening. It's not happening. The essence of a color revolution is in this case, for the United States of America, this is a long period of time that this has been going on. They kicked it into higher gear when Trump won in 2016, and then they're balls to the walls right now, in terms of what they're doing, and it's clear. All you got to look at is the components of a color revolution. Go look at the components. I mean, I can list them off here, but it's on my pin post on X right now. Just go look at the components of a color revolution. We are going through all of them. Trump needs to understand that this is not just like he said in one of the clips you showed, this is not some guy who's a loony bin. No, this guy is extremely well trained. He is a soldier of the left. Okay, he is a soldier of the movement to destroy the United States of America. And we have got to start facing the facts. The main actions that we are seeing economic warfare being played against us. We're seeing cyber warfare. I mean, my God, Mike Benz is one of the best to listen to. We have political interference. Most people, Steve, don't know about what's called I wrote it down here, the New Virginia Majority, right? There's a name, Tram Nyan. New Virginia Majority. This is a communist movement inside of the United States to make sure that they get as many people that are communists running at the local level, school boards on up, right? And then we have what's called, within the color revolution, you have what's called contrived cultural shifts. And that's this whole Islamification of the United States of America in different places of the country. I mean, we have the problem right here in Florida. I'm down here in Florida right now. It's not just in Florida. It's not just in Dearborn. It's not just in Houston with the Epic City. Steve, this is a creeping like a cancer that is coming into our country. Islam is not compatible with Christianity, and Sharia law is not compatible with constitutional law. We cannot have either.
General Mike Flynn. And you heard him mention his post. We got it pulled up on the screen here. Face the Facts America. We are in the midst of a very serious and very dangerous color revolution. Whenever you hear someone say we must save our democracy, that's their signal to others that they want to destroy our republic, and trust they are intent on doing so. Along with destroying our republic is the removal of those mainstay American values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of our economic prosperity, along with the sanctity of human happiness. These type of revolutionary statements, such as he's a danger to democracy, are the catcalls to the Marxist left to move faster towards achieving their goals of undermining our republic to eventually overthrow our government. Most cannot wrap their minds around this game, which is not a game at all. What is a color revolution? Very sneaky, insidious overthrow of an elected government by clandestine parties under Barack Obama with the support of the socialist left and right warmongers in places like State, the Intel, and Defense, now War Department. There are many inside our government I've been warning about quietly initially and now very publicly. They want to see the American way of life completely change. How? Seize power through rigged election. Add layers of bureaucracy along with layers of non-governmental organizations. Start or extend wars and conflicts around the world. Rob the coffers of our U.S. Treasury to the tune of trillions of U.S. taxpayer dollars. Wash and launder the money through foreign nations, in particular financial institutions, and select individual foundations. Then rinse and repeat. The deep state is actively involved, this 8 hours ago, in operational color revolution against President Trump and the United States itself after urging sedition and threatening prosecution if they ever take back power. When you expose decades of crime, corruption, and disrupt their illegal cash flows, they come after you. The threat from within needs to be swiftly identified and removed from official duty, prosecute especially activist judges, high-ranking military, and nefarious actors within our Department of War, FBI, and intelligence agencies. What do we have here?
Prosecuted. This is the language of...
For what purpose would you ever deliver this message? As you said, it's to create a color revolution. It is the CIA playbook for trying to foment insurrection from within the military and within the CIA. Look, we saw after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Jesse, members of the armed forces openly celebrating his murder.
We'll point out, though, Harris, one of the crazy things that happened over the weekend, the Democrats, elected Democrats, not some online troll, elected Democrats have been saying it's okay to disobey orders. That's the first step. But what we saw happen this weekend through some of those same elected officials was to say basically to military men and women, look out, you might get prosecuted. This is not the language of we'll beat them in the next election or we'll win the argument. This is the language of a color revolution where you're calling on military men and women to disobey orders, and you put that on top of the firebombing of Tesla dealerships, the riots you see in the streets, the prosecution of a political opponent. The Democrats have completely lost the plot here, and the American people, I think, see that. But it's a very dangerous road to go down here to say you should be disobeying orders because we don't like Trump.
What should happen to the seditious six? Well, they should be held accountable under the law and under the Uniform Code of Military Justice for a seditious conspiracy against the United States of America. For what purpose would you...
Stephen Miller, nailing it yet again. Of course, and the deep state now. It's time. We'd love to see that mugshot in play, right? They gave President Trump a mugshot, didn't they? It's about to go down 24 hours ago. Packing Patriot writes the globalists have been caught red-handed orchestrating a color revolution against the United States. And President Trump is going to stop them.
I hope that you... What's up, my friends, family, and fellow patriots? Today is Saturday, November 29th, 2025. It's about 9:49 a.m. Central Standard Time. I am coming to you, even though it's been a minute. This is so important. I hope that you take the time to listen to me here today. This is a warning. We are in the midst of a color revolution. What is a color revolution, first and foremost? It's when a foreign entity or foreign entities infiltrate a government to try to usurp and overthrow that government from within. What we're witnessing right now, stolen elections, the 2020 stolen election where Venezuela is looking like they were involved with using their Smartmatic machines to overthrow our voices and our votes by using algorithms and things that are very hard to decipher. They passed it on to Dominion, which we used here, the Dominion machines. This is something that they did to get Maduro into power, and they're now using this as an export of sorts and have infiltrated 70-some countries with this technology. This is why Trump has 30% of our firepower sitting in the Caribbean right now, about ready to go off against Venezuela. Trump this morning has closed the airspace in Venezuela. This all comes back to that. This isn't just about with Venezuela. This isn't just about them sending fentanyl over here and flooding our borders with Tren de Agua and emptying their prisons. It's much more than that. They have literally infiltrated our elections. And I think that everything's coming to a head right now. This is why...
Everything's coming to a head. Everyone's talking about this right now. CIA front group USAID funded the overthrow of the United States government leading up to the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election. Darren J. Beatty writes, what's unfolding before our eyes on American soil is a very specific type of coup called a color revolution. Real Robert writes, now hunt them down, hunt both Barack Obama and Norm Ellison down, and bring them to justice and face a jury of their peers for the crime of treason.
A little bit more delicate. It's a regime change model.
So this is Darren Beatty. This is back when Tucker Carlson had his show on Fox. That's how long this has been in play, folks.
What's unfolding before our eyes is a very specific type of coup called the color revolution. It's a regime change model favored by many in our national security apparatus, particularly against Eastern European countries, to overthrow, target regimes that they don't like. One model, which is not the color revolution model, is purely sending a bunch of troops into a country and removing by military force a leader you don't like. That's like the Iraq model.
Right.
The color revolution model is a little bit more delicate and subtle. It has several characteristics, but the chief characteristics of it is a combination of an engineered contested elections scenario combined with massive mobilized protests, which they call, as a term of art, peaceful protests and acts of civil disobedience. If that sounds familiar, it gets even better. It's not only the same strategies and tactics used against Trump that's used against Eastern European dictators that our national security apparatus doesn't like. It's literally the same people who are color revolution professionals who have a long history of using these same tactics against foreign leaders they don't like to use against democratically elected President Donald Trump. It's the same people using the very same playbook. Now, I'd like to talk about one of the key figures in this operation, a nexus point not only between color revolutions overseas and the color revolution against Trump, but a nexus point between lawfare and mass mobilization and so-called peaceful protests. This is a man by the name of Norm Eisen. Norm Eisen is a key legal hatchet man, Democrat operative, former Obama ethics czar, believe it or not. And he is also a key architect of nearly every effort to censor, sue, impeach, and overthrow the president. He is the author of, in fact, a color revolution playbook, literally called the playbook. And one of the items he calls for in his playbook to overthrow regimes overseas he doesn't like is engineering election fraud scenarios, using election fraud to engineer mass protests to question the legitimacy of the target leader. Norm Eisen has a long and checkered history going all the way back to his days at Crew, which is a lawfare arm. He's been behind over 180 lawsuits against Trump. He authored 10 articles of impeachment before the president's phone call was even made. He was special counsel to the Democrats for the impeachment process. He was literally involved in every aspect of this color revolution against Trump.
Oh, yeah. They're naming names now. Apparently, this person received a strike on TikTok for posting this video. Is flagged under civic and election integrity, which further supports what my educational video on color revolutions explains.
And they tried to flip a dozen others. The same exact playbook every single time. This is how they do it. 1, they demonize the leader of the people who they actually voted for. 2, they flood the country with chaos like riots, open borders, economic pain. 3, they weaponize the courts, the media, and big tech to finish him off. And 4, they install a puppet who sells the country out to China and the UN. And that's not theory, that's the manual. They opened it on us in the United States the day Donald Trump won in 2016. And here's how they ran it on us step by step. From 2016 to 2020, they gave us the Russia collusion hoax, FBI spying, 2 fake impeachments, Antifa burning cities while CNN called it fiery but mostly peaceful, and the goal was to make you hate the guy you voted for. In 2020, we had 2 a.m. ballot dumps, boarded up windows, 51 Intel agents lying about Hunter's laptop, Zuckerberg dropping $400 million to help count votes in Democrat cities. And the goal there was to steal the election while calling you a conspiracy theorist for noticing. From 2021 to 2024, we had Joe Biden opening the border on day one, 12 million plus illegals, military-age men from China and Venezuela and all over the world, free flights, free hotels, free EBT cards, all on your dime. Cities collapse, crime explodes, schools and hospitals break. The goal, to make Americans feel like strangers in their own country.
They're eating the
Then
dogs.
from 2021 to 2025, 91 felony charges, Mar-a-Lago raided, gag orders, mug shots. They didn't want to just beat Trump. They wanted to break him and every future patriot who dares to run. Look at what they did to Charlie Kirk. That is a textbook color revolution. But on November 5th, 2024, the American people looked this Marxist coup dead in the eye and said, not today. 312 electoral votes, popular vote landslide, the biggest Hispanic and Black Republican turnout ever. We pulled off the greatest peaceful counter-revolution in world history.
Amen, we did. But that's not going to stop them. The CIA is behind everything going on right now. That's what this gentleman says.
From the CIA deep state plot to overthrow this great republic, it's already well underway. It started with the seditious six reading their CIA-given script from John Brennan. John Brennan is the one who is running the CIA currently. Because Trump is not in charge of the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ. That's why this shit's all fucked up. And they...
John Brennan, is he involved in the color revolution? People believe so. Amuse posting this 24 hours ago. Color revolution. Mark Kelly took CCP-controlled 10-cent money for his balloon company, hid it in blind trust, and joined seditious six to tell troops to defy Trump. His credibility zero. 10 Cent is a Chinese communist company. Chinese Communist Party-controlled company pumped money into Kelly's stratospheric balloon startup Worldview. 2013, 2016. Kelly quietly moved the Chinese investment to a secretive blind trust when he ran for Senate. Now he's part of the seditious six, telling U.S. troops to ignore Trump's lawful orders and warning they could be prosecuted once Democrats are back in control. Critics note the irony: a senator with CCP-linked funding undermines the chain of command of the U.S. military. Mark Kelly took Chinese money for his spy balloon company before joining the seditious six. What do you know? The dots are all connecting themselves. Color revolution. More. Seditious Six members, Senator Elisa Slotkin, spoke at the Brookings Institute last month predicting an incident involving National Guard, and she estimated it would take place around 2 weeks from when she spoke.
Hand with his use of force. As a CIA officer, the idea that intelligence officers could be asked to target Americans turns my stomach, and it would shift us into a modern-day surveillance state. Turning the federal government against Trump's enemies goes hand in hand with his use of force in American cities, both federal law enforcement and the military. As of today, the president has attempted to deploy more than 7,000 National Guard members across 5 cities, including right here in Washington. In August, the administration ordered the creation of 2 new National Guard units, a standing quick reaction force that can deploy anywhere in the country, and then separately, National Guard units in all 50 states focused on quelling so-called civil disturbances. At this point, Trump has been very clear about his intent. At Quantico, speaking as commander-in-chief, he instructed his military brass to use cities as, quote, training grounds. And many times, he's floated the idea of invoking the Insurrection Act so that military units can raid, detain, and arrest Americans. The president has already deployed ICE and other federal law enforcement to these same cities across America. In some cases, these federal officers are playing fast and loose with their tactics, which sooner or later could lead to a deadly escalation. The videos out of Chicago are shocking. Federal agents pulling their weapons on highways, firing tear gas into neighborhoods right before a Halloween parade, injuring and even killing civilians. Many are masked, not wearing uniforms, and driving unmarked cars. For those of us who served abroad, it feels like another country. And it's only a matter of time before things get worse. By my estimation, we're about 2 weeks away from a bloody incident that spirals out of control. And this is just the kind of incident that Trump wants to justify more force coming in.
Wow. Talk about projecting the plan. And now we have a National Guard specialist shot and killed outside of the White House the day before Thanksgiving. One still fighting for his life. The evidence is mounting faster than they can hide it, folks. Former intel officials pressuring the military. Elected Democrats threatening prosecution for following Trump. CIA-linked NGOs resurfacing in domestic political operations. CCP funding politicians driving the narrative. USAID networks tied to 2020 reappearing. Obama-era figures suddenly reactivated, coordinating messaging. This is not paranoia. This is the largest coordinated anti-American intelligence operation in modern history. And the target is not a policy, not a party, and not a politician. The target is the American Republic itself. You're not witnessing politics. You are witnessing a regime change operation aimed at removing President Trump and collapsing constitutional order. Now, the story matters because it names what is happening. For years, Americans watched their institutions weaponized against them and were told they were crazy. They watched elections questioned and were called conspiracy theorists. They watched intelligence agencies lie and were told to trust the experts. No more. Senator Schmitt is calling it sedition. General Flynn is naming the commander. Investigators are tracing the money. The color revolution is not coming. It's actually here. It's active. And the only thing standing between it and success is an informed American public that refuses to be fooled. The CIA used these tactics to topple governments in Ukraine, Libya, Syria, and dozens of other nations. Now they've turned the playbook inward. The question is simple. Will Americans recognize the operation in time to stop it? My question for you, should John Brennan be investigated for his role in this alleged coup? Yes or no? Answer in the comments. You can support the mission at the Next News merch shop, link below.